Hello, all wrestling fans and casual fans alike. This is another exciting episode of the Best Damn Wrestling Podcast, and I'm here with my co-host and cohort, Heath. What's going on, man?
Is it going to be exciting? Is it really going to be exciting?
Well, I mean, you got to give people something to talk about. I can't just start and say, "Well, welcome to a fucked up show," but shit. I mean,
I mean, it's a fucked up world in terms of wrestling.
Oh man. Okay, we're doing a very special episode, I guess, for us tonight. It's that I think is I think got some real interest to it. And we're gonna be talking about basically Keithan, is WWE turning into what WCW was before it closed its doors back in 2001. Now, before everybody gets the blowing and smoking and writing all types of comments and everything else, we do understand it is probably not logical that they'll close their doors tomorrow. That's not what
Absolutely
we're
not.
saying. This is $1 billion company. But what we are saying is there a possibility that the management, the creative, the talent, and the way they're being utilized are all of those things resembling WCW? So without further ado, we'll jump right in. Um, I guess I'll just start with you, man. I posed a question. Do you see it turning into that? Now, before you dive in, I just got to say, I have loved WCW for as long as I can remember. There's still parts of me that go back and watch WCW promos and segments, matches. And I mean, I wasn't there for the golden era in the 80s, but man, just the 90s on, like
Right. Pre
there's still
Vince
a part
Russo.
that holds that. Huh?
Pre Vince Russo. That's when it was good.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I held on to WCW for as long as I possibly could. But all the stuff leading to them closing their doors, do you see there being a semblance? Are we overreacting? I mean, what do you think? I'll let you go from there.
I don't think it's a complete, you know, resemblance to WCW because, for one, like we just said a couple minutes ago, that was the Vince Russo era. And, with Vince Russo, it was just terrible gimmicks, cartoon stuff. It was just seemed like stuff that you would see in a damn superhero TV show. It was just something that nobody wanted to see. I feel like if anything right now, because WCW is more of the inmates running the asylum, and I don't get that right now with WWE. I don't
Yeah,
get
but
that at all with them. And
it's inverted. It may not be the inmates running the asylum anymore, or like it was at WCW. But I mean, at this stage, you got maybe too much management running and not enough talent being able to have input.
well, you also have a rebellion here too, which you haven't seen in any other promotion. That's different. A lot of talents asking for their release. A lot of them want to go elsewhere. A lot of them turning down contracts. It's different. Who turns down the WWE contract? You have to be
It
a
used to be that WWE was you knew you made it. That was the money maker.
right.
Now everybody else is going other places to get over and do the same things. And whether it's NJPW, whether it's Ring of Honor, whether I mean AEW now, but people are asking for releases and they're not being granted. It used to be different back when a guy wanted to be let go, but we've discussed this on previous shows. But I mean, man, I know we talked about this the other day. I haven't seen it this bad before.
No, I
I
haven't
think
either.
this be the worst I've seen WWE in my memory in the almost 30 years I've been on alive. And over 20 some odd of those have been watching wrestling, and I don't see it. I can't remember a
Right.
time they were this bad.
Well, see, for me, and this is another thing that I'm pretty sure we're gonna touch on. I don't really blame it on AEW forming. I think it's more of superstars knowing like, hey, the independent circuit is really jumping right now. So we can go make a name for ourselves at various different places and use the power of social media and still draw big money.
while having my own persona, my own input, my own,
Absolutely.
and not being held to do cartoon bullshit segments, wrestling, etc.,
Right.
which they kind of devolved into. They're going in reverse right now. I mean, for instance, let's talk about the 24/7 title. What the fuck?
Yeah. Yeah, it's green and gold, which makes it perfect because it's a recycled title. That's the hardcore championship with an
With a
alias.
different face. I mean, you should have just brought the hardcore title back. And the 24/7 rule worked so well back then because you had so many mid card talents that you could
Hmm.
possibly, there was Steve Blackman, who I think is the greatest hardcore champion of all time. Crash Holly, Hardcore Holly, Road Dog, Mick Foley, or Mankind at that time.
Al Snow, Big Boss
Al
Man.
Snow. Yeah, the list is endless. I mean, those
Yeah.
guys, and they made that title mean something. There was always Crash Holly took it to another level with all
Crash is
the
my favorite.
yeah, and stuff. Steve Blackman was mine. I thought he was the greatest hardcore champion of all time. That's just me. You
Crash
know,
was the one that kind of made it like a serious title.
right.
He made it like the one you wanted to see every week on Raw and SmackDown. Like who's gonna try to take Crash out, and when he would lose, it would be the funniest shit.
And the thing that doesn't make sense is saying, okay, well, anybody can win it, whether it's a main roster opponent, an NXT UK or NXT challenger, or a 205 live challenger, or even a Hall of Fame or a legend. That makes no sense.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. I mean, man, you okay. So here's where I think they're falling into the same pattern that WCW did. You're utilizing recycled and overused talent. WCW ran NWO into the ground. It lived a
Into
lot
the ground.
into the ground.
It
Lived
was
a lot.
dead by the time Bret Hart got it.
Right. It lived a lot longer than it should have. I feel the same way about some of the talent and the feuds and stories that they're carrying there. They have Brock Lesnar, the fan base, to death.
Oh my gosh,
To
yes.
death. I mean, Jesus Christ. I couldn't take another Brock Lesnar feud right now. We've seen Brock Lesnar for what, the last 24 some odd months? Is that fair?
Yeah, yeah. And it's terrible, and it's been sporadic. You know what I'm
Becky,
tired of? I'm tired. I'm tired of them.
they
Yeah, exactly. But I'm tired of them sitting up there making Brock Lesnar like he's the same powerhouse he was 16 years ago. That was 16 fucking years ago. 16,
yeah.
maybe 17. He wasn't even the best out of his class. You remember his class in OVW? Let us not forget. He was in the class with John Cena, Randy
Yeah.
Orton,
Randy
Batista,
Orton.
Shelton Benjamin.
Yep.
You know, he's not better than any of those guys. And I'll go against anybody else who says he is. He's not
I,
better than any of those
but
guys.
it's not just him. I bet we've been Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair to death. You've
Yeah.
been Reigns to death. Uh, at this stage,
Shane and
we
Miz.
Baron Corbin, Shane and Miz. I mean, you have to find ways to get other people into the mix. That was when in WCW, you always seen the same people: Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, Hulk Hogan, Goldberg, Sting. Like, I mean, and even when you found something that caught fire, as quickly as it caught fire, they were in a hurry to use it, and it never went anywhere else. Do you remember the whole Goldberg and Hogan thing?
Yeah, I
That
remember
could
that.
have been something, and they just wanted to do the Georgia Dome, and after that, it was never the same.
Yep.
They're not using spots to get talent over. Now, at Money in the Bank, at the end, instead of Brock Lesnar winning the briefcase, why not use that as an opportunity to put a new guy over to
Right.
showcase a new talent? It made absolutely no sense.
No
What
sense for him to come out at the end of the match.
Yeah, it made no sense. I don't understand. And it's the same thing with their creative and their storytelling. It's becoming so repetitive, and anticlimactic. You
And
even
very
when they find
predictable.
right,
Yeah.
right, even when they find a story that makes sense or that can really catch on, they either don't do it right or they just move on to something else. I still go back and say I thought Braun Strowman and Samoa Joe after Mania could have been something. We only saw it one
Yes.
day. They did nothing else with it. Next thing you know, he's working with Mysterio. They're just everywhere with the booking and the creative and putting people together. You have no point, no direction. I mean, what's going on? And it's the same thing with WCW back then. None of what they were doing made any sense at all. They had nothing other than send the NWO out. They're the massive heel. Okay, let them work with somebody. And there was just a lot of bullshit. And that's what
It
I
was
feel
a
like
lot.
now
Yep.
is a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah. I mean, it's BS when it comes to the pay-per-views and Raw, but for some reason, SmackDown, I don't know who's running it, but SmackDown has been better than Raw and the pay-per-views. Like they,
Yep. And once you think that once they've made somebody or they found something that caught fire, i.e. Becky Lynch or AJ Styles or whatever, they move them over to Raw. Then
yep.
Becky Lynch to me has not been hot since Mania. Sorry, shoot me. What do you want? She hasn't been that hot. Once they moved her, it wasn't the same thing. Do you disagree?
I feel like it just depends on who she's going against. I feel like a lot of people weren't too familiar with Lacey Evans. That's why the heat wasn't as strong. And like you said, we've been Charlotte and Becky to death, so that works against her as well. A lot of times it's the feud. Like with Kofi Kingston, I thought he was getting a little stale too until this past Monday when mentioned his name. Well, Paul Heyman mentioned his name. Then Kofi came out and he got like the pop of the night. And then you go to SmackDown that happened today, and now he's into it with Dolph Ziggler. Dolph Ziggler comes back, attacks him, and it's just something refreshing. So now you
Done
got,
got it used in a long time.
yeah, that they haven't used in a long time. That a guy that they wasn't even sure they were going to be able to resign because they underutilized him too, and he's a great talent. Dolph Ziggler is great. Everybody agreed to that. Dolph
But
Ziggler is
okay,
fucking awesome.
so that's another thing. When you got up and coming guys that some WCW didn't do, they get knocked down once they're going against guys that whose stars are big. I mean, Aleister Black and Ricochet were top guys in NXT. They don't do anything now.
Where the heck
Andrade,
has Aleister Black been? They've been doing vignettes on him, and then I don't know. Is he injured? I haven't heard nothing about him being injured. Why are they keeping him off TV?
Andrade, he's just now possibly starting to get some type of push or
Finally,
whatever.
and you know why? You know why? Because he's learned some English, and Vince McMahon is happy about that. Like
Yeah,
literally, they said Vince McMahon told this dude to his face. He asked like, "What can I do to get more time?" And he was like, "Learn some English."
the guy was a top guy without having to do much
Without it,
talking.
yes,
It's the same thing with Nakamura. It doesn't make sense. You got all of this talent, and you just nothing's being done, and the product is getting stale. You getting the
yes,
same old bullshit. It's just like, and you talking ratings. That's about the closest comparison you got. The ratings were in
absolutely,
the toilet for WCW well before the writing was on the wall. You
hmm
knew the show was no longer what it used to be. And I
yeah,
think for a lot of people now, it's just like, I'm gonna be honest with you. If WWE Network didn't have like all the classic stuff and everything, like ECW, WCW, Mid South Wrestling, stuff
yeah.
like that, I
I wouldn't
wouldn't
be
know.
watching it.
I wouldn't have it
Yeah,
because the things that I'm seeing that they put out, I could probably just watch at my leisure. It's not something I need to tune into anymore.
right.
It was the same thing with WCW. There was a point in time I couldn't miss a Nitro or
Or
Thunder
Thunder.
or
Yeah,
yeah, man. I mean, hell, when they were hot, like when NWO first formed, I couldn't. I was more likely to turn on a Nitro and I would be like, well, fuck it, I'll just catch Raw after the 8 o'clock hour or whatever.
right.
Depending on what was
Exactly.
going on.
That's how you manage it. Yeah,
and I don't feel that way. After a while, I stopped feeling it. It was like, I'll just catch it, later or whatever, or I'll just wait and I gotta watch Raw. You don't feel that anymore, and I don't. I don't know what the fix is, but I mean, is it me? Obviously, they won't go under. I gotta reiterate, they
No,
don't
no.
go under today. But at what point as WWE do you start to say, okay, the writing's on the wall? We're getting signs here that we're doing the same shit that the competitor used to do. We put them out of business for this type of shit. Does it take AEW actually turning into something?
I don't even think you have to convince the staff. I think you only have to convince one damn person, and that's the person that changes the script and will start a Raw without having a solid script in place, and that is VKM himself. That's the main one you got to convince because he puts himself and his company on the pedestal, which you should, but at the same time he think he's untouchable, and that's just not true. That's just not true because AEW is doing what WCW did as well. They taken the heart and soul out of WWE by going after some of the intricate parts and making them who they are. Like Jim Ross. Jim Ross was a very instrumental part in making WWE successful during that whole Monday Night Wars era. He's very important, and now they have him. So it's really one person that's really got to come to terms with that, and I think he's probably on his way out to focus on the XFL.
Which you don't fucking need. The amount of money that you fucking pouring into the XFL, why not fucking pour into getting these guys fucking wrestling, getting the wrestlers health insurance and
Yeah,
retirements
exactly.
and shit?
Yes.
Take some of that money and find some better fucking writers because the
Yes.
people that are writing the shows suck.
You get reality TV writers.
I mean, yes, wrestling is it's a work. We get it. I hate the fact that everybody knows that. Now. I hate the fact I fucking know it. That's me.
They don't
Okay,
try to add any kind of realism to it. They just
right.
like, oh,
But the thing is, if you gonna write the show and make it believable, at least make it
right,
make sense. We're past the point of belief. It just don't make no fucking sense. For instance, Brock Lesnar was nowhere on the Money in the Bank card at all. How the
at all
fuck did he win the briefcase and nobody said anything about the fact that he never really was supposed to be in the
in the
match.
match.
It's just we're
Yeah,
gonna roll with it. It makes sense to us. We'll roll with this. I don't understand.
like
The guy was
they gave him cash in rules pretty much. Like they let him cash in just to get a. It was just stupid. Then they tried to turn it into a. Well, he attacked Sami Zayn, so he took his spot, but nobody came out and confirmed that. It's just stupid. So I didn't like how that was executed. But I like what you just said. They need more realism to it. They need better writers, and they need to let the talent do themselves. Dolph Ziggler he came back, attacked Kofi Kingston today, and cut a great promo, short and sweet and to the point. He even showed some emotion, saying that should have been me. The whole thing was it should have been me, and it got over amazingly. And it's just simple things like that that they got to take into it. They think too much with promos that they write for the superstars instead of just letting the superstars go out there and have a simple
what?
premise.
But they're even getting careless with the matches. They put on some matches
Yeah,
on regular TV at this point for rating purposes
they're
and to
botching
keep people
finishes. Did you see this
right.
shit?
Well, not even just that. They're putting on matches on regular weekly television that should be pay per view matches. You had an Andrade Rey Mysterio 2 out of 3 falls match that probably should have been a pay per view match. It was damn
Absolutely.
good. Tore the house down. Never made a pay per view. I that the gauntlet match that Kingston ran to get into
Yes.
in the chamber. That's
Yeah.
probably something you could have did a build up to. It shouldn't have been a on the fly. They're getting careless now. I feel like, and the writing is there. That if you don't write the shit soon, it may not be today, it may not be tomorrow. But some of the things y'all are doing are the same things that were done 20 years ago. Nothing has
Well, for
changed.
one, they
Nothing. And
they kill the chemistry of a match too, because the same matches we see on the pay per view or on SmackDown and Raw, they run those same matches at live events throughout the week. So the wrestlers are still doing the same matches all week long. They're working the same person and have to have a different match every time.
creativity gets lost at that point. It's repetition.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But here's the thing. I'm gonna put this out here, and this may be similar to WCW. It may not. When the Attitude Era and the Ruthless Aggression eras were going on, you had four to maybe six top guys
Mm-hmm.
that
Yes.
you ran everything with.
Yep.
And the Attitude Era it was Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, The Undertaker, Triple H, Kane, and I guess you could say, depending on who you are, how you feel, Big Show and goddamn Mankind, Mick Foley, Cactus Jack. Or depending on what year was Shawn Michaels or Bret Hart or both.
Right.
Is that fair?
That's fair.
Okay. It was always going to be a combination of, or a drawing of two, sometimes three, sometimes four of those guys at any given point in time, because they were the best there were. It was always those six. You weren't trying to make room to utilize everybody. You utilized the cream of the crop in those areas. They got
Right.
too much. It's too much of, oh, well, I'm trying to give everybody a chance. So you running all over the place, booking matches, booking stories. You're not saying, okay, well, let's look at this. Who's getting over right now? Well, okay,
Mm-hmm.
Sami Zayn's hot. Let's put him with Kofi Kingston, or because he's hot, and you got two hot guys that you can run a program with for a couple months, 3 to 4 months. Now, while you're running a program with them, who's the next crop of guys? Okay, these two guys are catching fire, and they've done wonderful work. Let's put them in that next group, in that next tier. Run pay-per-views with whoever's getting over. It's
Yeah.
it's competition. It's wrestling. You gotta set yourself apart. If you're setting yourself apart, you don't have to worry about not being utilized. Granted, they don't really give talent enough time to utilize or do anything, because A, they're either
Absolutely.
told what to do or what to say. B, they're putting senseless, nonsensical, situations that make absolutely no sense at
No
all.
sense.
And C, some of these people are, for instance, I think Liv Morgan's great. That's me. I love her. But when you
Right.
took out the Riot Squad, what are you gonna do with her now?
I haven't seen them since. They just be doing
Exactly.
live events.
That they were a group,
Yeah.
and they were put into a group situation where it was a numbers thing. You break the numbers up, what do you have?
Absolutely. You don't have not a damn thing. They haven't even done anything with the tag team championships, the women's tag.
No, you haven't seen it. You don't really see anything. They don't have an opponent.
Yeah.
They have no build up. I thought Oscar and Kairi Sane would be the next thing, but
So
hell,
did I.
there's a story that's occurring between them and the Iconics right now.
Yep.
It, it,
Is it?
I doubt it's even been considered, talked about, anything. And then you wonder why people don't lend credence to that division. Oh, well, we tried something different and the fans weren't in it. You don't see it. When's the
Yeah.
last time you seen a women's tag team match?
I can't remember. Really can't.
Yeah, it's like once they took it off of Sasha and Bailey, now we just kind of like, okay. I think the Iconics have been in more one-on-one matches lately than tag matches.
Yeah. Well, they were in a tag match of some sort yesterday, I believe, with Becky and Nikki Cross,
And
and
how
that's crazy. Well, Becky and Nikki Cross won. You know, they had Alexa Bliss down there. Like, apparently, I think they're trying to build towards Alexa Bliss versus Becky. Try to put Alexa Bliss back on top, which I'm not against because Alexa Bliss is great. But it's like you said, they got to know who to roll with, who the people are getting behind. And they get behind people like Alexa Bliss. They get behind people like Becky because they see their work ethic. They see how much they love the business. They see how much they put into it. But they keep on giving it to people. I don't know what their pull is with some of these people that they reward. I don't get why they're so infatuated with it. And it's annoying.
Baron Corbin is a waste of space
Why the
alone.
fuck is that dude in the main event on Raw? I just don't get that. Why does he still dress like a GM? That damn
That's
character's been over with.
with certain people, and when it's not about the talent, it's about who you think looks good. And this isn't the 80s and the early 90s. Now the business and the dynamic of wrestling has changed. I know me, a lot of times, again, I hate to keep saying this, but I know wrestling is a work. But I watch the matches to see phenomenal wrestling
Right.
by two or
Great
three or four
storytelling.
guys that can tear a house down. I don't. When you can get me to suspend disbelief in the middle of a match, and I'm on the edge of my seat because I'm saying the next move will win or the next fall is it. I, that's great wrestling, and it doesn't matter what shape or size that comes in. I just want great wrestling now, And if you can somehow manage to tell a great story going into it, all the better. But I want two great athletes, two great wrestlers, that can entertain me for 35 minutes or more, or whatever the case may be. Hell, it could be a 12-minute match and feel like it's been an hour. But the important thing is, it doesn't matter what they look like. You get where I'm
Yeah.
going?
Yeah.
And no matter how many times we kick and scream and moan about this, they're not going to change it. And that's another thing that led WCW down that road. You stop paying attention to the people that put the money in people's pockets. You got to get asses in seats. If people think you ain't listening to them, asses don't sit in seats anymore. If asses ain't sitting in seats, you can't pay anybody. It's
Absolutely
simple.
not.
And I mean, yes, we complain a lot. I get it, and it's so hard. I don't think wrestling in the '90s or early 2000s would have been able. I don't think it would have endured the amount of complaining us as fans do. Our standards are so high because of what we've experienced prior to that it makes it hard to, and there's so much access to shit and stuff. It makes it
Yeah.
hard. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
harder to do this the way that they used to do it. But at the same time, when you're finding ways to adjust and study, push the envelope and set the bar higher, and you showing me different things. I mean, if every pay-per-view no two people were the same unless it's a really hot program, I would be fine. I mean, it's one thing to, and I'm just using this as a reference. I know we're not discussing it. It's one thing to see Kenny Omega and Okada two or three or four times, because every time they link up, it's something amazing. You don't know what you're gonna see next, and it may be 6 to 12 months apart, but you don't know what you're gonna see next. You
Mhm. Yeah.
versus I've seen Brock and Roman at 4 pay-per-views, and every single time there's been nothing that out of the extraordinary. It's just the same old shit.
Yeah. And somehow they think that that draws money. When you have people
You
leaving the
got
arena.
you got two guys that can't talk, can't wrestle, can't do anything outstanding. That they're just in the ring. That's
Well, I'll
it.
give I'll give Roman a little more credit that he can have a good match with somebody. It's just with Brock. I mean, everybody's gonna look terrible with Brock because he can only do so much.
Roman
He's
only do so much. That match at Mania with McIntyre was awful. The match with Elias at Money in the Bank, I thought at least, was fucking terrible.
well. I wasn't interested in the story to even pay attention to the matches too much, so I I gotta have a good story to go with that. Like that, and that's where the story comes in. If the story is good, you're gonna look forward to the match,
Well,
and
you can
you're
give
gonna
up
have a
on
good
your
time.
nose, buddy, because nobody can fucking write a wrestling show over there.
Hell
And I'm
no.
sure the people that could write a wrestling show, they don't want to go back to the or take some of those ideas and use them, because either A, you're scared you're gonna piss off some people and that's gonna cost you money, or
Mhm.
B, you don't like it because it wasn't a particular person's idea, or C, well, this isn't gonna help us in the long term get so and so over, or this might make so and so look bad. We can't do that.
Right. And see, that's just ridiculous though, because you have to be able to build on what you create. So if two people have a good match, don't make that a one and done and don't ever revisit it. Case in point, like you said, Samoa Joe, Brock Lesnar. If it's something that's working right
Oh,
there and something sparks, you should be able to call an audible
hot.
and keep
That
going with
feud
that.
was hot. That feud was hot. Man, everything about that felt like it was kind of a shoot to a certain degree. The promos, the way that Samoa Joe and Brock would come out and attack each other and everything. I mean, like even the commentary was better. I remember that one particular pro segment where Paul Heyman comes out and he's like, "You put your hands on Brock's guy, and you don't have the balls to come out." And Samoa Joe comes out mid promo, and you hear Booker T saying, "That's a man, that's a man," and he just
Right.
walks out there, and they start going at it. Like that's that's amazing. That's what you have to run more of, because I know just from looking at it, I'm like, dude, this feels real. That whole little promo where they were having the little, they were talking back and forth, and Samoa Joe rips the mics off and goes looking for Brock, and he finds him, and all those people are holding him back. You
Yeah.
know, yeah, that felt very real. You don't see that anymore.
Well, it was great because Samoa Joe is a legit badass. And everybody knows him as such. Everyone believes him when he says things like, "I can choke you out. I can make you tap out." Everyone believes him when he says that stuff. So when he goes out there and he makes it happen, it just looks even better on his part. And that's a promo all in itself. When he goes on and backs up what he's been talking about, because that's what
Right.
his character is built off of. He's built off that.
And they wasted no time in getting the belt off of him, I see.
Yeah, I mean, I
Not
think
saying
it. I'm optimistic.
but
I think it could lead somewhere good with Samoa Joe and Rey Mysterio, because both of them need a legit feud. Samoa Joe's been having some great feuds lately.
he had one with AJ Styles. It would have
Yeah,
worked well if they would have at least put the belt on him once. That would have worked
yeah,
well.
that was just weird. He didn't win the title or nothing. I mean, whatever happened to the long rivalries where the title changed hands at least once?
Even if it was even if it wasn't a clean finish, if it
Right.
was a fucking finish where the heel fucking hit the guy with the chair when when the ref was looking, or it was a ref bump and the title belt and everything. One time carries the feud further, because now you got the baby face chasing the heel to try to get try to get his receipt, or his vengeance or whatnot off of losing it. He wants back what he just lost. The other guy was only obsessed with being champion. Now that he's champion and the other guy's chasing him, he's dodging him. You can extend it. They didn't even do that. Samoa Joe and AJ Styles had at least what felt to me like 12 matches, and they ended in DQ. I was okay with a couple of them ending in DQs because things just got out of hand or whatever. But
Yeah,
AJ
for the sake
Styles,
of the story.
right? But like not once did he get a win, and it just kind of derailed it because people got tired of seeing it.
Right. Right. Nobody wanted to see it
And
at
the pro
all. It got stale.
that in that feud were so fucking good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they made it go still just like they did with AJ and Shinsuke. They
Yeah,
drove that into the ground and then some more.
first off, that heel turn never should have been made. That's one of the worst fucking heel turns I've ever seen at a WrestleMania, probably in wrestling in general.
That was
That
done with
guy
malicious intent. Uh,
Nakamura was as hot could be going into
yeah.
that match. I think they did it on purpose.
That was malicious on Vince McMahon's part because he even changed the song. He didn't want Nakamura's pop to even get over. Because you know how the crowd used to.
Oh no, I know. When Nakamura first came into NXT, everybody knew his theme song. What?
Yeah.
It's crazy, and nobody cared that he couldn't really talk. It's just when he got in the ring, he put on a show. His entrance put on a show. Nobody cared because the product was good.
Yeah. And he had great
And
matches as
proved
well.
himself. He with almost everybody you put him with.
Yeah, that's the same thing with Andrade. They put him in good matches, but don't put him in a significant storyline. Dude
Yeah,
hasn't had a title around his waist.
but it's bad booking. It's bad creative. It's bad writing. I mean, not they're not utilizing the proper talent. They're utilizing talent, just not the right talent.
Yeah, like these bums that don't need it.
Yeah, they utilize the talent, just not the right talent. And guys that used to be, and they, it's like now they're even too stupid to recognize who's hot, when to use them, and when not. So at one point, Braun Strowman was built up to be this monster, and was supposed to be able to do all these exceptionally great things, and was flipping trucks over and shit. But I mean, never could win. He never won a title. Never won a title.
Yeah, couldn't get past Brock Lesnar. You made him look weak to Brock
And
Lesnar.
Roman Reigns. And so what happened was people just got tired of seeing him. Hey, you do all this great stuff, but you're not the champ. It's not gonna matter. So Braun Strowman lost. He lost momentum. Uh, we just talked about Samoa Joe. They killed off Nakamura's momentum or whatever the case may
Yes,
be. I mean, these when you don't even know when to utilize talent at the right time. This is the
right.
same pattern that WCW. One of the biggest mistakes they ever made was Goldberg was white hot and they had to kill his streak. Once they
Yeah,
killed the streak, it diminished Goldberg to a large degree. It wasn't the same. People still believed in him, but not to the extent that you did when he was 162-0. And then when you ended the streak, you ended in such a shitty way. It took everything away from him. Everything away from him.
right. And that's the one thing you don't want to have is it when a loss costs them everything. A loss can cost them so much stuff
You
right now.
gotta, as a booker, as a creative, as you gotta know when to give a guy a loss and how it's going to make him look.
Right.
Case in point, if you go over to NXT, Matt Riddle was as hot as hot could be, right? When he fought
Hmm.
Dream for the title at the last takeover, he came out of that match looking just as good as he,
Yep.
if better, as he did before he entered it. That loss didn't hurt him; it elevated him. But they knew when to pull it and who to pull it with, and at what time to pull it. Does that make sense?
Oh, it makes all the sense in the world.
They
Yes.
don't they're not doing that. Oh well, okay. I'm trying to think of a case off the top of my head. I'm gonna be honest with you. Okay, and maybe you might fucking curse me out for this, but fuck it. There's been a point in time where Mustafa Ali was hot. He was slightly he was catching fire in some shape, form, or fashion.
Right.
Why not push him enough to where even if he takes a loss to a champion, it's still going to
Yeah,
help him.
it won't affect them in a negative way.
Right. But
Absolutely.
he's stuck in limbo. There's no plan for him here. It's just like, oh, okay, well, you lost your chance, and uh, so when he loses whatever whatever heat or hotness he had at that time, then it's like, well, we tried to make him a top guy and it didn't work. Well, you don't know how to utilize him, and they don't. What they're missing now to me is veteran stars that know how to get other guys over.
Yes.
There was a point in time where you had certain guys. Mick Foley put a lot of guys over. He knew that his job was to get that guy to an elevated position. He knew how to do that well. He's one of the main guys I think about with something like that. Chris Jericho is doing that same shit right now with guys and how to get them over.
Amazingly too.
Exactly. And how to get them over. And he'll win a match here or there, but when it comes right down to it, he's elevating the guy. So when a guy takes a loss to Jericho at this point in time, well, hey, he took a loss, but it didn't hurt him. All it's doing is making him. So when the payoff comes along, well, this
Hmm.
guy's a man at the end of that whole thing
Absolutely.
because you've done a great program with a guy that knows what he's doing, how to get heat, how to get you over, how to get you empathy and sympathy, how to get people behind. They don't have that anymore. The veterans they do have are so concerned about still being the guy because
Still
most
holding the
of
spot.
them
Yeah.
right. You don't have any vets on the roster anymore that can make guys.
Well, they're threatened by people like the ones that come from NXT, and you shouldn't be threatened by them. I
Yeah,
mean,
no, yeah, I don't disagree. And it was the same thing in WCW. And I keep drawing back to that because that's what this show is about. But
absolutely.
guys that could have made guys didn't want to make them. Hogan could have made Goldberg. He could have
Yeah.
made, Hogan could have made several. It was the same thing when Jericho was there. Jericho just wanted a chance to be a made guy. If you put,
Hmm.
he didn't mind taking a loss to a star, but if a guy could make him, he could show him the next crop of talent.
Right.
But they didn't want to do that. Because that felt well. I don't want to diminish myself to make you look good, but that's what it is. You paved the way for the next group
Right.
of
It's
because you
called doing
can't
a favor.
right. You can't do this forever. Somebody had to do it for you.
Yeah.
Brock Lesnar wouldn't have been Brock Lesnar if he didn't beat John Cena, if he didn't beat The Rock, if he didn't break the streak. There would be no Brock Lesnar.
Absolutely. Absolutely not. And that's another guy. They pulled him out before he was ready. You remember Jim Cornette said that? They pulled Brock Lesnar in before he was ready, then they pushed him to the moon. And that's the whole story of his career. And the same thing is happening.
Kurt Angle just did it for Baron Corbin. By letting Baron Corbin beat him in his last match, he gave him added heat. That's
Yeah.
making a he know that's his job. His job wasn't to get another guy over. I mean, wasn't to beat a guy and get himself over on his way out. It was to make another guy so that he can get over in turn. They don't
And be
have
the
that.
top heel.
They don't have that. They don't. When Randy Orton was becoming a legend killer, a lot of Mick Foley came out of retirement to do a match with him to show people
Hmm.
he was a tough guy. He could handle it. He wasn't just a pretty boy with a pretty face that was just a second. This guy was for real. They don't have that anymore. That's missing. That was the same thing missing in WCW because a lot of the talent that got over. Let's go through the list real quick. Chris Jericho, Chris Benoit, Eddie Guerrero. To a certain degree, I guess you can and cannot say out of the depend. Goldberg, Booker T. Trying to think of somebody. Rey Mysterio.
Yep.
These are guys that in WCW they were mid carders, television champions, cruiserweights, whatever the fuck you want to call them, vanilla midgets. They came over and they got over. What's the difference?
Yeah. And at that time in WCW, they they were so established with this damn NWO thing. The NWO thing really helped kill a lot of the aspirations of a lot of guys in the back because if you weren't in NWO, you weren't going to get no top spot. You weren't going to get no title shot. You weren't going to get no significant storylines. Everybody else was just wrestling. Everybody else
Well,
was just set up a match and wrestle. Say that again?
they didn't have anything for you,
Absolutely
and
not.
you better not dare try to get yourself. That was Jericho's problem. Jericho wanted to make himself and try to get himself over, and they just weren't going to allow that because they didn't look at him that way. It's the same shit going on over here. I don't believe Brock would go and say, "Hey, let me work with this guy because I see something in him and I can make." Bret Hart did it for Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah,
Hey, this dude
he
I already
did.
did. Let me make him. Let me do something.
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely. He was like, I'm
you don't.
having a return
They,
match.
they don't have that. No, they
Yeah.
don't have that now. You don't see Brock at Brock's a statesman now. He's been there for a long time. 10 plus or more. Let me make this guy. I'm gonna call out Randy Orton. I don't really see that from him. Hey, let me make this guy. Or whatever. I don't see that. Samoa Joe, I don't know. I would assume that might be a conversation with him. I'm sure Rey Mysterio just did it for Andrade. Without that, there might not be no Andrade push like it is right now.
Yeah.
He did it.
Because he's very giving. He knows. He Rey Mysterio is old school, and Rey Mysterio wrestled in Mexico, so that's very, very important that you help the next generation. A lot of other
Right.
guys, Like Andrade, he got wisdom from Alberto Del Rio. You know, Alberto Del Rio helped prepare him for WWE and what he's going through. So it's just like you got to have that whole mentality of, well, I'm not gonna be around forever, but if I do, at least my stamp will be on
I
this
say
wrestling world for a long
I
time.
with Cena too. If he's still wrestling, even if it's in a part-time capacity, hey, let me instead of cutting a promo on a guy to try to tear him down, like they fucking allowed him to do with Elias, who I think is
Very
underutilized and needs
underutilized.
giving us. He's got some fucking talent. Make the guy, help make him. And that was stupid. So, okay, Elias does what he does at Mania. John Cena cuts him down, and then John Cena disappears, and Elias is kind of left hanging in the wind, and then he moves on. So it's
Right.
like, okay, and then he changes shows. I would have tried to make that guy instead of
Or
John
does he with this
wrestling the
stupid wild card thing?
right. I mean, why is it? And maybe we don't know what goes on backstage. Maybe some of these guys are saying, "I want to make this guy. I want to work with him." And Vince
Right.
is saying no. But how do you expect
Yeah.
guys to get better if they don't work with better guys?
Right. Because I'm pretty sure everybody. Well, I know everyone has a great camaraderie back there. Everybody respects the other. Everybody is everybody is for the betterment of the talent backstage, and they're being stifled. I feel because even if they get the match they asked for, and they want to make somebody, you have producers and you have certain agents back there that's gonna want a certain outcome. They're gonna want one person to look better than the other, and then it's just like, well, what's the point of even asking you for this favor if you're just gonna tell me how to do it? And you're gonna tell me who you want to get over. That
Right.
defeats
Versus
the purpose.
trusting you to. I've done this. I've been a top guy for 10, 12, 15, 20 years. Trust me to make a guy. I want to make a guy. Or whatnot. Somewhere, somebody has to start saying, okay, listen, put me with this guy, or oh, let's run the program with this guy. Because some of this stuff might work out. I still go back to him. Mick Foley made so many
So many.
people. He helped him out, or whatnot with
Help
that
the Rock
intense.
out too.
Yeah, The Rock, he helped him out. Randy Orton, he made him. You go down the list with him, and he's made so many people, and he's Triple H. He added another element to him. I still say that Royal Rumble match between him as Cactus Jack and Triple H, that was unbelievable. Without that, do you look at Triple H the same way?
Uh, as one of the best heels, yeah, I still look at him like that. But that did add a very important level. It helped him with his cerebral assassin angle. That alias, and
And it
it,
kept the story going because it was like you barely escaped this time. Like you're vulnerable. Because remember, Triple H did a great job of playing up how scared he was of Cactus Jack. He
right.
was a cerebral assassin, but he didn't want to see the hardcore legend. So there was an element there. Does that make sense?
It makes all the sense in the world
And
because
to a
he,
certain degree, to me, I think you got to give JBL a little credit. Him and Eddie Guerrero. That program showed Eddie Guerrero was a main event contender.
yeah, got people acquainted with the lying, the cheating, the stealing thing too. Built more off of that.
You
So
know, yeah, I mean, even in the tag team division, I mean, you could do something with that if you allow guys to work with other people.
yes,
Definitely,
freely.
if you intended for Aleister Black and Ricochet to be a real tag team, I don't know why you would think that's a good idea. But if that was your intention, why not put them with a legitimate tag team that can run a program with them, that they can do
Yeah,
something. I didn't understand. It's so many elements to this that again they have so many parallels. I don't think WWE is gonna lose 100 and some million
no,
dollars a year or
no.
whatever. I mean, it's not gonna get that bad, but you gotta start asking yourself, at what point do you start saying, okay, this is terrible. It's so
Yeah,
bad
it's too
that
much.
it's too much. I mean, and again, I go back to something I said when we did a show, I think last week. The only way that people are gonna get their attention is to boycott the product. But
Hmm.
some of I like I was saying, I had my love for WCW ran so deep I couldn't stop watching. Even when David Arquette was champion, I still would tune in to see if something might change. Saying, okay, this is a rough spot, but how many rough spots become too rough? And you got to ask yourself, you know, do I really want to stop watching WWE?
Yeah, yeah, and
Yeah.
that's the thing you gotta think about. It's like, is it really that bad, or will I even be getting anything good at the other place? I mean, I know what they have to offer, but will it really be worth it? I don't think anybody actually completely stopped watching the product cold turkey, but at the same time, people want to be entertained. If they're wasting their time and you know taking their time out to look at a product, they want to be entertained. That's just the bottom line. It's
Oh,
not them being spoiled. They just want to be entertained. They know what they want.
yeah, definitely, man. This is something I think we might have to do another show on. I mean, I know we ran a little bit longer than we expected, but I'm just curious, and I kind of want to see where this goes from here because the next, I think, major pay per view they have is it the Saudi Arabia thing?
Yeah, that super sold down bullshit thing. Yeah, with Goldberg and Undertaker seeing who could break a hip faster.
Yeah, I don't know, but there may be a part two to this, folks. I mean, obviously, there's a lot more to this, but we kind of just we want to just kind of get your opinion on what do you think, and if you listen to this episode and you agree or disagree, or you just want to keep the discussion going, feel free to comment. Also, like and subscribe, and be sure to hit the notification button for future episodes and future content. We'll definitely probably have to do a part two of this, Ethan.
Absolutely,
I just have,
I'm down for
you
that.
know, yeah. So I mean, we probably want to see where it goes from here, or whatnot, and maybe we'll have a little bit more insight on what we think after Double or Nothing, which is this coming weekend. So but I mean, overall, man, I got to be honest with you. I'm hoping that they right the ship. I'd love to see a full fledged wrestling war. I think it would make everything better. But in order for that to happen, they're gonna have to fix and change their ways.
Absolutely,
Hopefully that happens before it's too late, and we're not sitting here talking maybe 5, 10, 15. It might take that long, 15 years from now, saying, "Well, man, remember when there used to be a WWE?" I don't
hmm
think it come to that, but
No, never.
you
It's
know,
too much history there.
I'm gonna ask you this, and then we'll get out of here. Do you think, at some point in the near future, that if the ratings don't improve and things just continue on as they are, my last question: do you think the McMahons will ever sell the company, or is that just out of the question?
Uh, Hell no. That's like asking them to sell them their last name. That company, that WWE, that's everything. And plus, I they're connected to it by the grandfather, of course, Vince McMahon Sr. So they're
Right.
not going to do that. I don't see them doing it. It's worth too much money. Publicly traded. Video games make a lot of money, you know. So, no, we don't have to worry about that.
It just was a curious question because it's something I've heard said recently. Like, hey, maybe they might sell the company, this, that, and the third. It would shock the hell out of me if they did. But I mean, I'm like you. It's very hard to see that. But it was very hard seeing WCW close either. I
Yeah.
never thought they would go out of business.
Let alone have Vince McMahon buy it.
The company exactly. So it's a lot of moving parts. But again, man, I mean, only time will tell, and we're gonna have to kind of give it a chance. But discussions like this actually, grow the wrestling community, and that's what we're in this for, and that's what we're about, and we're about discussing wrestling. So, hopefully somebody will find this interesting, or multiple people will, and this will be something we can just keep going. You know,
Yes.
but I mean, for all of those listening, and we hope that you've enjoyed our show. And we hope that you'll continue to tune in for more wrestling content with attitude. And without further ado, this has been the Best Damn Wrestling Podcast, and we're out.
All right.